Welcome to On-Demand Module 1. Start the year off right with Edge. This is the first in a series of 5 on-demand modules to help you get started using Edge. My name is Sean Lowry, Technology Consultant for National Geographic, and I will be your presenter for this session. Edge is a core reading and language arts program designed to meet the language and literacy needs of both striving readers and English learners in grades 9 through 12. As I said before, this is the first of 5 on-demand training modules to help prepare you to use Edge in your classroom. After you complete this module, you will want to select either Module 2 or Module 3, depending on which Edge level you will be using in the classroom. If your school or district has purchased Edge e-assessment and/or the online coach, please be sure to view Module 4 and/or 5 to help get you started with those subscriptions. Now that you have Edge, you may be asking yourself a few questions. What does Edge offer me and my students to help us succeed? What is the instructional path of each unit? How should I set up my classroom to promote student success? How do I access the online resources? How do my students access the online tools? And how do I customize Edge to fit my schedule? During this session, I will help answer these questions by giving you an overview of the program and all its components. I'll point out some of the features of the Teacher's Edition and walk you through a unit to provide a big picture overview. I will also share some information about the importance of class schedules and the physical layout of your classroom in relation to student success. I'll show you how to access both the teacher and student resources on the Teaching Edge and the Learning Edge. And finally, I will demonstrate how to use the online lesson planner. Edge is a core reading language arts program designed for 9th through 12th grade for striving readers, English learners, and students who are at risk for dropping out. Adolescents need to be motivated and challenged. Startling recent studies have shown that most students who drop out of school did not do so because the work was too difficult. They did so because they didn't see the relevance of what they were learning in school in relation to the world outside of school. Edge will help address this issue with students by providing motivating and relevant content. Edge provides high-interest, age-appropriate text with built-in supports to provide access to students at a variety of reading levels. There are 4 levels, each at different language proficiency and reading levels. The fundamentals level is designed for beginning English learners and striving readers who are reading at a 1st through 3rd grade reading level with focused, in-depth instruction in language development. Level A is designed for intermediate English learners and striving readers who are reading at a 3rd through 5th grade reading level. Level B is designed for advanced English learners and striving readers who are reading at a 5th through 7th grade reading level. And Level C is designed for English learners and striving readers who are reading at a 7th through 9th grade reading level. Levels A and B and C all include focused, in-depth instruction in reading strategies and literary analysis. Edge is standards-based and includes motivating relevant content and systematic and focused instruction that leads to academic success. Our team of authors brought their own cutting-edge research to Edge. National Geographic Learning collaborated with these well-known authors. Dr. David Moore, author of Teaching Adolescents Who Struggle with Reading, as well as the IRA position paper on motivating adolescent readers. Dr. Deborah Short, author of Double the Work, Challenges and Solutions to Acquiring Language and Academic Literacy for Adolescent English Language Learners. Dr. Michael Smith, author of Reading Don't Fix No Chevys, as well as Going with the Flow. And Dr. Alfred Tatum, author of Teaching Reading to Black Adolescent Males. Each one of these authors brings a commitment to unique expertise to the challenges facing high school striving readers and English learners. Our author team is a group with powerful convictions, and they poured this passion into the development of Edge. The research from our authors is available right at your fingertips. In every teacher's edition, you will find the first tab is titled Best Practices. In this section, the EDGE program authors present best practices for teaching adolescents, practices that are grounded in current research and built into reading, writing, and language instruction in EDGE. Now let's take a look at the EDGE student materials for motivation and engagement. First, we have the student book, which is full of relevant, motivating literature at an appropriate reading level, explicit instruction, and useful handbooks. It is also available as a CD-ROM version and online e-edition format. These are both separate purchases. The Interactive Practice Book is a full-color companion to the student edition that includes interactive selections and practice with vocabulary, reading, and literary analysis skills and strategies. The Grammar and Writing Practice Book provides practice for the extensive and systematic grammar instruction. At the fundamentals level, this practice is built into the main practice book. The EDGE library includes 3 titles per unit at 3 different reading levels to provide students with choice and exploration of the essential question. A downloadable teacher's guide and student journal accompanies each title. The online resources students have access to are found on the Learning Edge at hbedge.net. This site includes an array of resources that support the end-of-unit project, provide recordings and video clips, and other relevant resources. Access to hbedge.net comes free with the student book. And finally, the online coach is software that allows students to read selections silently, listen to fluent reading, and practice oral reading fluency, all with built-in comprehension, vocabulary, and fluency supports. This is a separate subscription, and please contact your local representative for pricing and more information. EDGE is all about keeping the students motivated and engaged. The next slide will take you to a short survey regarding what you find in the student book. The session will pause while you complete this survey, and it will resume as soon as you submit your answers. It says it's a test, but don't worry, there are no wrong answers here. Flip through the table of contents for each unit and read the essential question. Which one do you look forward to discussing with your students most? Check out the visuals on each page of each unit launch page. Which one do you think will be the most engaging to your students? Page through one complete unit. List a few of the on-page supports you found that will help students build confidence. Okay, we've looked at the motivating student materials. Now let's take a few minutes to see what's available for you. The Teacher's Edition is your complete resource for planning instruction and assessment. Both volumes are also available online on the Teaching Edge. The Teacher's Edition Interactive Practice Book is an annotated Teacher's Edition that provides answers and models of student responses. The Reading and Writing Transparencies are instructional transparencies used to develop strategic reading and writing, and can also be found on the Teaching Edge. The Language and Grammar Lab includes instructional transparencies that teach grammar and language functions, a language CD with models of the language functions, and a complete teacher's guide and a grammar and writing practice book annotated edition. At the fundamentals level, this instruction is built into the main Teacher's Edition. The Assessment Handbook includes a complete array of tools to monitor students' progress and achievement in reading, writing, and language. Cluster tests, unit tests, and rubrics are available, as well as a variety of effective and metacognitive measures to inform instruction. And the online resources teachers have access to are found on Teaching Edge at hbedge.net. This site includes an online lesson planner, an interactive Teacher's Edition, professional development video footage, and other tools available for viewing, downloading, and sometimes printing. In this session, we'll be focusing on the Teacher's Edition and the online resources. but please be sure to take some time becoming familiar with all the other resources you will be using. Your Teacher's Edition is your complete resource for planning instruction and assessment. I'd like you to take a minute to point out a few key features that I'm sure you will find very helpful. I already showed you the Best Practices tab and the author monographs, but don't miss the Cooperative Classroom section that provides detailed descriptions of the cooperative learning strategies that are built into the EDGE lessons. The second tab, Vocabulary and Fluency Routines, contains daily vocabulary routines, an academic vocabulary word list, a list of Spanish-English cognates that are found within each unit, and daily oral reading fluency routines. You will become very familiar with this section as you move through the program. Tab number 3, Technology and Assessment, provides a visual overview of the technology tools that are available in EDGE. And the fourth tab, Student Edition, is where the instruction begins. Turn with me to pages T0 to T1 in levels A through C, or T2 to T3 at the fundamentals level. I'll be using level B as an example, but everything that I share will be applicable to all EDGE levels. There may be a few differences for those of you using fundamentals, but I will point that out when necessary. If you focus on the purpose of each lesson rather than the specific content, you will be able to easily apply what you learned to the level you are working with, because each unit follows the same instructional path. As you can see, we are now looking at a unit launch. Notice first the teacher wrap that surrounds a copy of the Student Edition pages. This is where you will find your step-by-step lessons that provide systematic, explicit instruction. Next, notice the objectives box in the upper left corner. You will find these clear objectives at the beginning of each lesson. See the black circles with letters in them here on the teacher's wrap? They correspond to a specific section of the Student Edition that is the instruction is focusing on. Also, notice the specialized strategies for English language learners. These are already built into the instruction at the fundamentals level. As you move through the lessons, you will be amazed at the number of supports provided for you. Alright, now let's look at the instruction in each unit. We will focus on the instructional path for levels A, B, and C, but when there are differences that apply to fundamentals, I will mention them. We will go into greater detail about the fundamentals in Module 2, Teaching Success with the Fundamentals. Each unit begins with the unit launch and how to read lesson. In the fundamentals level, the unit launch is followed by a vocabulary workshop. Next, we move into the cluster instruction. Each unit contains 3 clusters. Within each cluster, there is a main reading selection and a non-fiction companion selection. The fundamentals level follows a similar pattern that includes a language workshop as well as 2 selections for each cluster. In all levels, students engage in various unit workshops, including workplace workshops, vocabulary workshops, and listening and speaking workshops. Fundamentals also includes language workshops. Every unit also includes a writing project that steps students through the writing process, focusing on a specific writing mode and trait for each project. And finally, the unit wrap-up gives students the opportunity to present their unit projects and reflect upon their own reading. In EDGE, the focus and repetition of one reading strategy per unit helps ensure students' mastery, while systematic application across genres promotes strategy transfer. Let's look at this unit as an example. Here, at the top of the table of contents page, you can see the genre focus and reading strategy for this unit. At the fundamentals level, there will be a language development focus rather than a genre focus. A wide variety of genres are covered in EDGE, including short stories, various types of nonfiction, and drama and poetry. Notice the specific genre focus is listed in purple for each cluster. EDGE also covers 7 general reading strategies known to promote adolescents' reading comprehension. Each element of the reading strategy is listed in red. Not only is each unit based on a specific genre focus and reading strategy, it is also built around an essential question. Essential questions are the engaging and enduring questions we all face. They give students insight into questions central to their lives and make reading matter. The essential questions, or EQs, reflect the issues students face in their own lives. They provide students with the motivating context for reading and learning, and promote rich discussions. And essential questions have no simple, easy answer, which allows students to become active participants in their own learning. Here you see some examples of essential questions from Level B. Now let's go back to pages T0 and T1, or T2 and T3 for fundamentals, and take a more detailed look at the instructional path of a unit. Again, we begin with the unit launch. As you can see, the essential question, in this case, what influences a person's choices, is listed along with a large visual that relates directly to the essential question. Each unit launch also includes quotations to help provoke lively discussion. And notice within the teacher wrap, directions for a cooperative learning structure is included to help students develop listening and speaking skills. You will see that these activities are specific to the content found on the page, making it easy to implement right away. The next part of the unit launch provides an opportunity for students to engage in a debate related specifically to the essential question. And we all know how much high school students love to debate. Take a look at this chart. Teen choices that relate the essential question to students' lives are presented, encouraging interaction and collaboration that promotes critical thinking and language development. In fundamentals, students engage and interpret using another visual that relates to the essential question. Students also have the opportunity to complete a unit project which develops throughout the course of the unit, allowing students to come together and work as a team. These projects prepare students for the types of team building, project-based tasks they will face in the real world after high school. They are also designed to engage students in a real-world way with the essential question and allow them to connect their out-of-school literacies with the skills they're learning in the unit. Also, on this page, you will find opportunities for extended reading using the Edge Library. These books are at a variety of reading levels and genres and are all tied to the unit theme and EQ. Following the unit launch, we introduce students to the genre that is the focus of the unit as well as the reading strategy. A demo text helps us do that. The demo texts were created by one of the program authors, Michael W. Smith, to encapsulate the specific aspects of the genre at hand for each unit. In this unit, we will focus on characterization, setting, and plot, while in another unit we address point of view, all tied to the reading strategy, plan, and monitor. For teachers working with English learners, notice the built-in specialized supports in the teacher wrap that help provide access to the demo text. Next, students make personal connections to build competence and connect reading to your life. Another important feature in Edge is the explicit statement of expectations, such as in the features, what does it mean to plan and monitor, and your job as a reader. Also notice the academic vocabulary at the bottom of the student book page. These are vocabulary words from the reading strategy, and students need to know these words in order to not only comprehend the work in this book, but also when they take high-stakes tests. Turning the page, you will find the completion of How to Read lesson. The next step involves helping students unpack the thinking process, defining characterization, setting, plot, and the strategy, plan and monitor using a show, not tell approach. As teachers, we know it's always important to offer opportunities to put new learning into practice immediately. We also tie instruction back solidly to the essential question. What better way than to experiment with how the elements of a short story can influence the choices of a character making choices in that story? The differentiated instruction box in the bottom of the teacher wrap helps meet the needs of diverse classrooms and accommodate a variety of learning styles and learners. This exploration of the genre, the reading strategy, and the essential question has prepared us to dive into the reading selections, which are organized into clusters. These clusters will not only allow us to explore details related to the genre in that strategy, but allow us to explore different aspects of the essential question. Remember, in fundamentals, students move from the unit launch to a vocabulary workshop. We will cover this in Module 2. Now it's time to move into the cluster instruction. Remember, there are 3 clusters per unit. The first step in each cluster is the Prepare to Read lesson. The purpose of this lesson is to launch the cluster with all discussion and instruction related to the essential question. The Prepare to Read lesson is designed to activate prior knowledge and build background for the entire cluster. First, students make a connection to the topic. This is done through a variety of quick activities. A few examples include anticipation charts, quick writes, and discussions. Then it's time for the students to learn the key vocabulary. The key vocabulary in EDGE is drawn from both literature selections in a cluster. This way, students have multiple exposures to the same words and can develop and apply word meaning across multiple contexts. Some key supports found on this page include the pronunciation and part of speech, student-friendly examples rather than dictionary-style definitions, identification of words from the academic word list, and when possible, strong visual support. In fundamentals, you will see a language workshop lesson prior to the Prepare to Read lesson. The Prepare to Read lesson occurs at the beginning of each cluster. However, before each selection within that cluster, you will find a before reading lesson. It is here that we begin in the powerful, highly scaffolded instruction that allows you to show, not tell students how to be successful with the text. The lesson begins by using the text to teach the text. This productive approach helps struggling readers become engaged. In the bottom half of the page, you'll find instruction on the reading strategy. In this selection, students focus specifically on making and confirming predictions as they read. Look at the explicit examples of the strategic ways readers can make and confirm predictions for themselves. This highly supportive, explicit instruction in both the genre and the comprehension strategy before the student reads the selection prepares for reading success with the upcoming literature selection. Remember, we are trying to show students the path to successful reading. The before reading lessons do just that. Pause the session and take a few moments to explore the reading selections in this cluster. As you explore, you will see that the literature selection pages have been designed to resemble the mainstream literature series to help prepare students for that expectation, as well as to make them feel comfortable using a book that is different from that of their peers. Also notice the following: on-page vocabulary and comprehension support, chunking of the text, reading support, analyze visuals, and critical viewing. When you are done reviewing this section, please resume the session. After the first and second cluster in each unit, in levels A through C, students will engage in 1 or 2 workshops. The workplace workshop promotes out-of-school literacy. The vocabulary workshop provides an additional focus on vocabulary. And the listening and speaking workshop provides an additional focus on authentic listening and speaking opportunities. In fundamentals, students experience the vocabulary workshop as part of the unit launch and language workshops at the beginning of each cluster. Providing these workshops before the selections prepares them for each reading selection. At the end of Cluster 3, you will see the workplace workshop. The writing projects in EDGE take a different approach to teach writing to your striving readers and English learners. What's different about writing in EDGE is that it doesn't just tell students to write something, it shows them how to write step by step as they study the genre using clear examples and writing models, preparing them for high-stakes tests. Each project will focus on a specific writing mode. A few examples include reflective essays, autobiographies, and short stories. There will also be a specific writing trait that the project focuses on, such as focus and unity or voice and style. And finally, each project walks students through each step of the writing process, from planning to drafting to revisions and finally to the published piece. The unit wrap-up gives teachers and students a final opportunity to present the unit project and reflect upon their own reading. This is a powerful culmination to the unit. Wrapping up the unit also includes assessing the students to be certain that they are meeting your standards and progressing along the path to success. There are multiple assessment tools available at the end of each unit, including a reading and language unit test, a grammar and writing unit test, a self-assessment, and more. These are all available in your assessment handbook or online through the Teaching Edge website, which we will be looking at shortly. They are also available on e-assessment. Now that I've given you a brief overview of the instructional path of a unit, take a moment to pause the session and explore a unit in your own teacher's guide. Maybe you want to select the unit you will be teaching next. Once you have done this, please resume the session. Okay, now that you have a basic understanding of the instructional path and EDGE, take a moment to look about your own classroom. What does your classroom look like? Are the chairs in rows or groups? And how much time do you have to work with your students? Do you have a single class period, 2 class periods, a block? Now let's look at ways to set up your classroom to promote student success, and a few suggestions for how you can use your class time effectively with EDGE. Think about how your classroom is set up. Believe it or not, the arrangement of your desks in your classroom says a lot more to your students than you may think. When classrooms are arranged in the traditional rows, with as much space between the chairs' desks as possible, it's as if the teacher is saying, "I'm the teacher, you will do as I say. I have all the answers. Listen to me. I don't want you sitting near each other because then you'll talk and won't listen to me. I'm watching you all the time." And the students are thinking, "I have to do what the teacher says. There is one way to do things, the teacher's way." When classrooms are arranged in the connected rows where the desks are pushed together to create rows, it's as if the teacher is saying, "I have the information, I want you to be part of my group, but I'm not ready for you to be on your own. I want to see all of you with your books open, listening and following along. I'll hand out papers and you can pass them down your row." And the students are thinking, "Watch the teacher, he'll show us what to do. I have to stay in my seat. That's where you do your work." When classrooms are arranged in a horseshoe shape, it's as if the teacher is saying, "We will work together to learn. We will have discussions in here, and I'm not going to be the only one thinking. I'm interested in what you have to say." And the students are thinking, "We're going to be expected to think and participate. The teacher will lead our discussions, but we will work together." When classrooms are arranged in table groups with a small group area and a whole group area, it's as if the teacher is saying, "We will be learning together in lots of ways. Sometimes we'll meet as a whole group to learn, other times I'll sit with a few of you at a time to learn together, and sometimes you'll sit at your tables and work together." And the students are thinking, "We are all learners and we'll work together. My ideas are valued here and I will be used to help others. My teacher cares about what I think and will use that to help me learn." If you think about this type of room arrangement in a high school classroom, what types of modifications might you make? Maybe the teacher could move from group to group instead of having a separate small group area. Or the whole group area may just be a space where students can bring their chairs together. So with our new classroom layout in mind, it's time to think about EDGE in a flexible classroom structure. When I say flexible classroom, I'm referring to the idea that all of your students may not be working at the same level, which means you have to add some flexibility to your class routine. This also means that while you may work with the entire class for some of your instruction, you may also need to spend some additional time with a small group of students who need extra support. Let's see how EDGE fits this model. Some of the lessons that work best in a whole group setting include the unit launch, how to read and prepare to read lessons. When students are working with a partner or small group, they can work on the unit project, unit workshops, or the writing project. And while working independently, students can read their EDGE library book, work in their interactive practice book, use the Learning Edge, or listen to the selections and fluency models. So depending upon the amount of time that you have to work with your students, let's look at the same sample schedules. If you have your students for a single class period of 55 minutes, begin with about 25 minutes of whole group direct instruction. Then you can provide time, about 25 minutes, for students to work with a partner or group while you work with the students who may need additional support. This may be when you work with. If you have a block schedule, or 110 minutes, begin with 35 to 40 minutes of whole group direct instruction. Then you have about 60 minutes for students to work with a partner or group, and you can work with a few groups of students who need additional support. Finally, at the end of class, you have 10 to 15 minutes to bring the whole class back together for a final wrap-up of the lesson. Feel free to pause the session for a few minutes to think about what your class schedule will look like, how you can arrange your classroom to help promote success. When you come to some conclusions or strategies, please resume the session. In talking about a flexible EDGE classroom, one of the independent activities that I mentioned was having the students use the Learning Edge. Now I'm going to show you how students access the Learning Edge and what's available to them. Once I'm done, you will have an opportunity to explore the Learning Edge on your own right here within the lesson. The first step students take is to go to the website, www.hbedge.net. Once they click on the Learning Edge link, they have three options. The only one that will be available to all students is the Learn and Explore link. The other two links require an additional purchase. Take a Test and Review Results would be where your students would come through for e-assessment, and the Student e-edition is also a subscription-based program. After clicking on the Learn and Explore link, the students select the EDGE level they are working with by clicking on the appropriate book cover. Once the student selects their level, they are taken directly to the Unit Resources page for that level. At the top, you will see two large tabs, Unit Resources and General Resources. Under these tabs, notice the smaller tab where students select the unit they are currently studying. Also notice the menu box on the left side of the screen. Remember, I mentioned that one of the activities students can work on in a partner or group is a unit project. Well, here on the Learning Edge, they have access to a variety of tools to help them complete projects successfully. By clicking on the Project Tools link, students gain access to the tools specific to that unit's project. These resources may include planning tools, links to related websites, and rubrics for evaluation. One of the independent activities I mentioned was having the students read their EDGE library book. On the Learning Edge, each EDGE library book has an accompanying student journal that helps students guide their reading. To access these student journals, the student clicks on the EDGE Library Student Journals link. and then clicks on the title of the Edge Library book they are reading. When we get to the Teaching Edge, I'll show you how to access the corresponding teacher's guides. The next slide will take you directly to hbedge.net. Click on the Learning Edge and take a few moments to check out the resources that are available to your students. Since this is web-based, this could be also assigned for homework. This slide is also one of your handouts, so you can use it as a checklist if you'd like. Okay, now that you are familiar with all of the student resources on the Learning Edge, let's see what great resources are available for you. Of course, step one is getting to the hbedge.net site and selecting the Teaching Edge. Since you are currently watching this session, you have probably already registered for the site and used your login information to sign in. But just in case, I'll quickly walk you through the registration process so that you may share it with colleagues who may not have already gone through this session. First, click on the Register button. Then complete the Account Setup form. And when you get to the box that says eTools Key Code, you will find that code on the small postcard in the very front of any teacher's edition. As you can see, this postcard also includes step-by-step directions for registering. After you have completed the registration process, you will receive an email that contains your username and you're ready to go. Once you sign in using your new username and password, you will be taken directly to the opening page of the Teaching Edge. The first tool we are going to look at is the Access Resources link, which provides you with access to electronic versions of all of the teaching resources you will be using. You know what that means. No more lugging all of your teacher's materials home for planning. You now have access to them 24/7 anywhere you have internet access. From the Welcome screen, you will need to make a few selections in order to get access to the appropriate resources for the level and unit you are working with. First, you will need to select the Edge level from this drop-down menu. Then click on the appropriate tab for the unit you are currently working with. And once you've made these selections, everything else you select will be on the left side in the menu bar. By clicking on the Teacher's Edition link, you will be taken to a page that lists all lessons in that unit. Also notice the box on the right side of the screen that includes links to the additional TE resources found in the front and the back of the book. When you click on a specific lesson, a PDF of the TE pages for that lesson will open in a separate window. Remember, this is an interactive Teacher's Edition. Notice the small blue circles with white arrows? Anytime you see one of these, it is a direct link to the corresponding teaching or instructional tool that is mentioned. Sometimes it will take you to a video in the professional development section. For example, if I click the link by the red arrow, here the language transparency that is listed. Remember those Edge Library Teacher's Guides that I had mentioned? By clicking on the Edge Library Teacher's Guides, a list of the appropriate Edge library books comes up. Clicking on the title of the book opens a PDF of the Teacher's Guide. These can easily be used as you work with those small groups of students. To get back to the opening page of the Teaching Edge, you will need to close the Resources Directory window. Now we're going to visit the Professional Development section of the Teaching Edge. Once you select the Professional Development link, you will be taken to the Professional Development homepage. The Edge in Action Professional Development website is here to support you as you implement Edge in your classroom. When you click on the About Edge in Action tab, you can see an example of the process that has been developed for watching the video lessons. The videos include real teachers in real classrooms working with real students. They are here to help ensure success for you and your students. To watch a video lesson, click the Edge Video Lessons tab and select the lesson you wish to view. The video player will appear and your video will start automatically. If you have a lower broadband width, it may take a moment to load. Also notice the links at the bottom of the video player which provide access to the appropriate author monograph, the viewing guide, and the reflection and observation tool that can be emailed directly to you or a reading coach or your principal. The next slide will take you directly to hbedge.net. Sign in to the Teaching Edge and take a few moments to check out the resources that are available to you. This slide is also one of your handouts, so you can use it as a checklist if you'd like. Since you are watching this training, you more than likely have already logged in, so take a moment to just explore this portion of the website of the Teaching Edge. Okay, you're probably still thinking, how do I customize Edge to fit my schedule? So let's take a look at pacing and the online lesson planner. If you have your students for a single class period, 50 to 60 minutes, it will take approximately 5 to 6 weeks to complete a unit. If you have a block schedule or 2 periods, it will take approximately 4 to 5 weeks to complete a unit. The online lesson planner makes instructional planning easy. You can start with a pre-made plan for a single period or a block schedule, and you can also personalize it to suit your instructional needs and settings, as well as your students' needs. Again, we start by logging into the Teaching Edge at hbedge.net, and once logged into the Teaching Edge, click on the Lesson Planner link. It only takes 5 easy steps to create your customized plans. For step 1, create a group by typing in a group name. Be as specific as you possibly can so that you can use these lessons later on. Step 2 asks you to choose a start date, when you will be starting your instruction, and in step 3 you will select the edge level this group of students will be using. As a side note, wherever you see a calendar, if you just click on it as a pop-up, it will make it much easier to populate rather than the drop-downs. The next step, step 4, will select the unit this plan will be based on. You will need to create a new plan for each unit. Click on the Select button next to the appropriate unit, and now you're on the final step. In step 5, you will decide if you would like to use a pre-made plan or start one from scratch. In the beginning, we recommend that the pre-made plans be your best option. These plans have been designed to include all lessons that are covered tested skills, so your students will be ready for the assessments. As you can see, there are 3 pre-made plan options. Choose the plan that best fits your class and click Go. As soon as you click Go, your plans are ready. Now let me show you the features you can use to make these plans truly your own. Here at the top of the screen, we can advance the planner to show the next or previous week by clicking Next or Last. However, you will only have plans for one unit in this plan. When clicking on the day, for example, Monday, you have the ability to add activities to the plan. Remember, the Edge Library students are reading when they work independently. If you click on the Edge Library folder, you can select the book the students are reading and add that lesson to Monday's plan. As soon as I click and add, that new lesson appears in the planner. If there are only check marks next to the lessons, that means that they are already in the lesson plan at some point. You can also click on one of the days to see which lessons are already in the plan for the unit. By clicking on Tuesday, the Add Activity window pops up. Here, I selected the folder for Cluster 1 to see if there are any additional lessons I want to add. There are 2 additional lessons for English learners, but I don't want to add those now, so I can just close this window. You can also get a detailed description of each lesson by clicking on the name of that lesson. I also want to point out at this point that the Common Core state standards, should they be applicable in your state, will be listed in those pop-ups as well. When the description of that box comes up, you have a few additional options at the top. You can print the description of just this lesson, you can move this lesson to another day, or you can delete this lesson. When you click Move, a calendar will pop up, and you just click on the date you want that lesson to move to, and as soon as you click it, it will be moved to that date. The next feature I want to share is My Activities button. This feature allows you to add some of your own tried and true lessons. When you click on the My Activities button, a list of all previously created activities will pop up. To add a new activity, click Create New Activity in the top right corner. When the Create New Activity window pops up, enter the information you want included in your lesson plan. The only thing mandatory for this screen will be an activity name. You may also want to put notes in there to yourself, such as standards that are covered, objectives, or the amount of time that you plan on using to use this lesson. Now it's time to add your activity to your plans. Click the day you want to add the activity. When the Add Activities window pops up, you will see a blue My Activities folder. Open the folder and click next to the appropriate activity. Immediately, it is added to the lesson plan, and any activity from your My Activities folder will appear in blue. One additional feature I want to point out is the Edit Calendar tool. For any of you who want to have a day off, or if you would like to schedule an assembly, or if you have a particular day in which you do not teach ELD, you will need to do editing in your calendar. By doing this, when the calendar pops up, you simply click on the date you want to modify or remove, type in a description like Labor Day, winter break, assembly, etc., and click Add, as if you're adding something into your planner. You may want to add all of your own known days off at the beginning of the year, but you can add any unexpected days off at any time. Don't worry, if there are already plans for the date you are editing, you will be asked if you want to delete the plans or move them to the next day. We always recommend that you move them forward so that the students do not lose any of those objectives that are tested in the assessments. When you have made adjustments to your lesson plan and you're ready to print, click the Print button. In the print window, select the time period and how you would like your plans to print and click Print Preview. You can select them with your standards, with your notes, or your standards and your notes. Now let's take a look at one more feature of My Plans tab. Under the My Plans tab, you will be able to view, print, duplicate, delete, or share your previously created plans for each group. As you can see, the online lesson planner truly does make your instructional planning easy, and you can easily customize the plans to suit your instructional needs and settings. I also would like to point out that in the upper right-hand corner, should you need any additional assistance, is an icon that is marked Help. When you click on that, that will show you how to do any and all features of the online planner. Congratulations! You have completed the first on-demand module for EDGE. This session provided you with an overview of EDGE and all of the resources available, as well as the big picture look at the instructional path of each unit. We also spent some time on the importance of setting up the classroom to promote student success and ways to use your class time effectively. And finally, we took a look at the fabulous resources available online for both you and your students. Here are some next steps to think about before your next session. Study Unit 1 in your Teacher's Edition and become familiar with the components you will be using. Take some time to set up your own classroom and class schedule to promote student success. Go to the Teaching Edge and create your first lesson plan using the online planner. And finally, take a few moments to complete the evaluation on the next slide to be entered into a monthly drawing for a $50 National Geographic Learning gift certificate. Thank you for your feedback. Don't forget to check the Downloads tab on the left-hand side of the screen for your certificate of completion. Also, you may want to watch your next module in the near future so that there will be continuity of the program's layout.